طبعا في البداية أنتهز هذه الفرصة للترحيب بجميع الحضور معنا في هذه الحلقة الافتراضية، والتي سوف نسلط فيها الضوء إن شاء الله واستعراض بنك مسقط وأعماله وأداؤه خلال الفترة الماضية. كذلك أود أن أشكر بورصة مسقط لإتاحتها الفرصة لنا اليوم في هذا الاستعراض وهذا الوقت، إدارة بورصة مسقط، مجلس إدارة بورصة مسقط، وتحديدا كذلك الأخ رائد، جزاك الله خير معنا هنا، شكرا جزيلا. شكرا الأخ رائد، تفضلت فعرفت الفريق، إذا سمحت لي بعرفهم مرة أخرى. معنا الأخت شيخ الفارسي رئيس العمليات، معنا كذلك غنيش رئيس المالية، ومعي كذلك الأخ أحمد البلوشي رئيس الأعمال المصرفية. Assalamu alaikum everybody, welcome to this virtual session where we'll be talking about the bank as well as its business and performance. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Muscat Borsa for giving us this opportunity, and thank its board of directors, its management, and in particular I want to thank Al-Akh Raid for being here with us today and allowing us this opportunity. I will take a short introduction to the senior team with me today. I have Sheikh Al-Farsi, who is our Chief Operating Officer, Ganesh, who is our Chief Financial Officer, and Ahmed Al-Balushi, who is our Chief Banking Officer. I think it's just as a matter of administration, it's very important. This is a recorded session. There is a presentation that's going to be given, as well as discussion and questions and answers. Very important that this piece is read in conjunction with this presentation. All the points that are mentioned there, of course, in terms of caution, in terms of reproduction, whether in part or in full of the full video content and the discussions. All of these are very important points. تم إعداد طبعا هذا العرض المرئي من قبل بنك مسقط بناء على معلومات متاحة للجمهور ومنشورة مسبقا. هذه إجراءات إدارية بس حبيت إني أحطها في البداية، مهمة جدا. هذه الشريحة موجودة في الفيديو، بما أن هذا سوف يكون فيديو محفوظ. هذه المعلومات منشورة مسبقا، وهذا العرض هو للنقاش وتبادل المعلومات، وطبعا لا يعتبر دعوة أو تشجيع للاستثمار في البنك أو لشراء أي منتجات أو خدمات أو أسهم أو سندات أو لاتخاذ أي قرارات استثمارية. كل مستثمر عنده المقدرة أنه يعني يستعرض المعلومات بنفسه ويتخذ قراراته بنفسه من خلال التحليلات التي يعملها. الآن خلصنا من الإجراءات الإدارية. The contents that I'm going to go through today with you are, first I'm going to be talking about the operating environment, then I will move to the banking sector, talk about also Bank Muscat strategy and business lines, some of the key financial highlights, and also very importantly what we have yesterday disclosed to the market, our bank's capital structure optimization. Following this, as Mr. Raid said, we will all be taking questions and hopefully answering them for you. محتوى العرض اليوم إن شاء الله بدأ فيه بالتحدث عن الاقتصاد العماني، القطاع المصرفي، استراتيجية بنك مسقط وأداء دوائر وأقسام البنك، والمؤشرات المالية الرئيسية للبنك، وفي النهاية كذلك سوف أتحدث عن الإفصاح اللي عملناه أمس، ألا وهو تحسين وتعزيز هيكل رأس مال البنك. بعد كل هذا العرض إن شاء الله سوف نستقبل الأسئلة ونجاوب عليها إن شاء الله. طبعا مثل ما عملت الآن سوف تكون الشرائح باللغة الإنجليزية، لكن بتحدث كذلك باللغة العربية عنها. In terms of the Oman's economy, it has definitely shown resilience over the past 5 years, despite significant dynamics that have happened during these 5 years, like lower oil prices, the slowdown in economies throughout the globe, the COVID pandemic, and a number of different dynamics and factors in the geopolitics. Notwithstanding that, Oman's economy has been resilient, and this was definitely possible due to the government of Oman taking a number of initiatives to support and diversify the economy. Such initiatives on focusing on sectors like manufacturing, tourism, logistics, agriculture, and other other sectors as well, like health and education. In order and to enable these sectors to grow, there were a number of initiatives done, including changing and introducing new legislations to promote foreign direct investments into Oman. These were taken by the government as well. Also, the recent move to form the Oman Investment Authority, as well as a number of group holding companies in various sectors like aviation, oil and gas, and logistics, are further providing a solid foundation for Oman's diversification and consolidation plan. Well, alhamdulillah, due to the recovery of oil prices, the nationwide vaccination, and the strong financial measures, Oman's growth prospects remain promising. The medium-term fiscal plan and Oman's Vision 2040 further provide firm and positive momentum and anchor in this direction. The budget of 22 is seen as a growth and a positive and an expansionary budget, clearly focusing on large investment layouts, covering a wide number of projects across a variety of core sectors that support the economy. Also expands public and private partnerships in projects, which are a key focus areas for the government as proposed in the budget. With the oil prices at elevated levels against the earlier expected fiscal deficit, it's projected that the government is likely to generate a significant surplus due to the stronger growth in oil and gas revenues. Quarters 3 and 4 of 2022 will hopefully even see further increase in the prevailing positive business momentum. The year in 2022 is expected also to see a GDP growth rate of about 5% year on year. طبعا الحمد لله كان الاقتصاد العماني محتفظا بقوته في السنوات الخمس الماضية على الرغم من تحديات كثيرة، وأولها انخفاض أسعار النفط على فترة طويلة طوال الخمس سنوات الماضية وكوفيد وغيرها من التحديات، وذلك والحمد لله يرجع للمبادرات التي اتخذتها السلطنة لدعم وتنويع الاقتصاد. تشمل هذه المبادرات التركيز على البرنامج الوطني لتعزيز وتنويع الاقتصاد، ومن خلاله كذلك يتم التركيز على قطاعات مثل التصنيع، السياحة، خدمات اللوجستية، الزراعة والثروة السمكية وغيرها من القطاعات. الهدف هو طبعا تمكين هذه القطاعات وتنميتها. هناك كذلك العدد من التشريعات والقوانين الجديدة التي تهدف إلى تحفيز الاستثمار الأجنبي المباشر في السلطنة. الخطوات الأخيرة في تشكيل جهاز الاستثمار العماني وعدد من الشركات القابضة في مختلف القطاعات مثل الطيران والنفط والغاز والخدمات اللوجستية، كلها مع بعض تعمل على إرساء الأساس لخطوة التنويع والاستدامة في السلطنة. والحمد لله نظرا لتعافي أسعار النفط وحملات التطعيم على الصعيد الوطني بالنسبة لكوفيد والإجراءات المالية والاقتصادية التي تم اتخاذها وما زالت كذلك تتخذ، تستمر والحمد لله آفاق ووعود النمو في السلطنة. الخطة المالية متوسطة المدى ورؤية عمان 2040 كذلك هي ركيزة إيجابية في هذا الاتجاه. ميزانية الدولة لعام 2022 هي ميزانية إيجابية داعمة للنمو، تركز على مخططات استثمارية كبيرة تغطي عدد كبير من المشاريع عبر مجموعة متنوعة في القطاعات الأساسية التي تدعم الاقتصاد، توسيع مشاركة الشراكة بين القطاعين العام والخاص. وإن شاء الله كذلك نأمل أن مع ارتفاع أسعار النفط حاليا من المتوقع أن تحقق الدولة فائض كبير بسبب النمو القوي من عائدات النفط والغاز، ولذلك إن شاء الله نتوقع أن الربعين الثالث والرابع من عام 2022 وما بعدها إن شاء الله سيكون نموا إيجابيا في الأعمال. من ناحية الناتج المحلي الإجمالي نتوقع أنه سيحقق نمو بنحو 5% خلال عام 2022. الآن now we will be talking about the banking sector. The banking sector in general has been performing well during the challenging times of the past few years. In fact, some of the growth parameters which are going to be shown in the next slide show that sectoral performance has been good with the support of measures taken by the Central Bank of Oman and the government of Oman. The sector in itself has been supporting quite a few business segments in Oman through strong credit support in the past few years. The sector's key parameters like liquidity, capital adequacy levels, asset qualities are relatively at healthy levels. During 2021, and to counter the stress in the business landscape, Central Bank of Oman did provide a number of support measures to the banking industry, which included liquidity support, capital relief, some reduction of the capital requirements, and relaxation on classifications with regards to IFRS 9 applications, amongst other measures. These measures were indeed effective in creating this resilience within the banking sector and creating a firm foundation for the economy for the coming period. Sector has seen leaps for banks in terms of balance sheet growth, along with healthier profits. Banking credit portfolio increased by about 4.4% in 2021. Deposit portfolio also increased another 6% to reach about 25.6 billion. This positive trend is seen as continuing in 2022. During the first 4 months, January to April, sectoral loans increased by about 400 million, and the deposits also increased by about 156 million. Bank-wide net profits were higher during the period on about 12% year on year. As I had mentioned earlier, the budget 22 promoting significant investments and promoting investments in key sectors of the economy. The elevated oil prices, the lifting up of the pandemic-related restrictions, and the government's focus on reforms and developmental strategy, we expected, hopefully, that it will provide a much-needed booster for the growth in the sector, helping it to hopefully achieve even further and better financial performance and strong financial position for the Omani banks in the coming quarters of the year and in the medium term. كان أداء القطاع المصرفي بشكل عام جيد خلال الأوقات الصعبة التي واجهها الجميع في السنوات القليلة الماضية. كما ستظهر الشريحة التالية بعض معايير النمو في أداء القطاع في السنوات الماضية، وذلك بدعم من إجراءات عديدة اتخذها البنك المركزي العماني والحكومة. القطاع المصرفي طبعا في السلطنة يدعم مختلف قطاعات الأعمال من خلال دعم ائتماني قوي في السنوات الماضية. المؤشرات الرئيسية للقطاع في مستوى جيد، تشمل هذه المؤشرات وضع السيولة، مستويات كفاية رأس المال، وكذلك جودة الأصول. خلال عام 21 البنك المركزي اتخذ عدة تدابير طبعا لمواجهة الضغط في مجال الأعمال في القطاع المصرفي، تشمل دعم السيولة، تخفيض متطلبات رأس المال، متطلبات التصنيف وغيرها من التدابير. الإجراءات هذه كانت فاعلة. شهد القطاع نمو للبنوك، نمو الميزانية العمومية إلى جانب زيادة الأرباح. ارتفعت محفظة ائتمان البنوك بنحو 4.4% في عام 21، وزادت محفظة الودائع كذلك بنسبة 6%. خلال الأشهر الأربعة الأولى زادت القروض القطاعية بمقدار 400 مليون، وزادت الودائع بمقدار 156 مليون. كما ذكرت سابقا، ميزانية الدولة لعام 2022 والتي هي ميزانية توسعية تعزز الاستثمارات في القطاعات الرئيسية للاقتصاد، ومستويات أسعار النفط ورفع القيود كذلك المرتبطة بالوباء، وتركيز الحكومة على الاستراتيجيات التنموية. إن شاء الله نتوقع بأنها سوف توفر دعم في الفترة القادمة للقطاع والذي هو يحتاجه للنمو، ونتوقع كذلك أنه سيساعد في تحقيق المزيد من التحسن في الأداء المالي والمركز المالي للبنوك العمانية في الفترة القادمة. In this slide, we can see the stable growth of the key parameters of the banking sector. Loan growth is around 4.3%, compounded annual growth rate for the last 5 years, which is quite healthy, while ensuring that there is also a good growth in customer deposits of about 4.4%. However, in the recent period, credit growth and deposit growth have come down to low single digits due to, of course, obviously reduced economic activity. Profitability of the sector was stable until 2019. In 2020, as everybody has seen, banks globally witnessed a severe decline in net profits, and Oman definitely was no exception. The economic situation, the pandemic, and all the resultant slowdown and shutdown of business activities has impacted tremendously the entire globe and the banking sector as well in Oman. This has caused a 25% reduction in net profits for banks, which had subsequently improved by almost 18% during the first 4 months of 2022. And we clearly see profit further improving by almost 12% year on year. We hope and to see the sector possibly likely to grow at mid to low single digits in terms of credit growth and deposit growth going forward. There could be, of course, some short-term impact in terms of asset quality and collective provisions, but in the medium term there will be stable performance. في هذه الشريحة يمكننا طبعا أن نرى النمو المستقر للمؤشرات الرئيسية للقطاع المصرفي. نمو القروض تقريبا حوالي 4.3% معدل نمو سنوي مركب في السنوات الخمس الماضية، وطبعا أمر جيد مع ضمان نمو مستمر في ودائع العملاء كذلك في نفس الفترة بحوالي 4.4%. مع ذلك في الفترات الأخيرة طبعا انخفضت نسبة نمو الائتمان ونمو الودائع قليلا، وذلك بديهيا بسبب انخفاض الأنشطة الاقتصادية عامة. ربحية القطاع كانت مستقرة إلى عام 2019، لكن في عام 2020 شهدت البنوك على مستوى العالم يعني انخفاض كبير في صافي الأرباح، ولم تكن سلطنة عمان استثناء عن ذلك، وهذا طبعا معروف أسبابه عالميا سواء لكوفيد وما بعد كوفيد من وما سببه كوفيد من يعني توقف للأنشطة التجارية والاقتصادية في العالم. بعد ما شهدنا انخفاض تراكمي بنسبة 25%، الآن تحسن صافي أرباح البنوك بشكل ملحوظ خلال الأشهر الأربعة الأولى من عام 2022، ومن المتوقع أن يكون القطاع المصرفي قادراً على النمو بمعدل متوسط إلى منخفض من حيث نمو الائتمان نمو الودائع في المستقبل. يمكن أن يكون هناك تأثير قصير المدى على جودة الأصول، ولكن على المدى المتوسط سيكون هناك متوقع إن شاء الله أن يكون هناك أداء مستقر بإذن الله. The bank's vision is focused on very importantly and on key strategic pillars. Those are customer centricity, customer is at the front, our market leadership, efficiency and productivity, as well as innovation. These strategic pillars are to serve our stakeholders better every day. Our stakeholders, our customers, employees, shareholders, and the societies that we operate in. We continue to focus on leveraging our strong branch network and strong brand value of the financial position, our human resource assets, to deliver the best possible values to our stakeholders and strive to be better every day. These are values that we firmly believe in. رؤية البنك الاستراتيجية تركز على الارتقاء في خدمة العملاء، الريادة والاستمرار في الريادة في السوق، والكفاءة الإنتاجية والابتكار. هذا لكي دائما يعني نتطلع إلى خدمة زبائن البنك وكذلك المساهمين والمجتمع الذي نعمل فيه بشكل أفضل كل يوم. البنك دائما يواصل التركيز على الاستفادة من علامته التجارية وشبكة فروعه، مركزه المالي، قوة الموارد البشرية فيه، لتقديم أفضل القيم الممكنة للمساهمين والسعي لتحسين هذا دائما إن شاء الله. This is a quick snapshot of various business lines in the bank. As you know, the bank provides all banking services with well-established business lines, including corporate banking, personal banking, wholesale banking, and Islamic banking services. These business lines have been performing well over the last few years, providing healthy profit contributions. In general, corporate banking, personal banking, and wholesale banking contribute around 25 and 35% each, and in Islamic banking around 6%. Our overseas operation had faced some challenges in the past in terms of credit issues in those markets. During the first half of 22, it actually contributed a positive 1.5% to our bottom line. In terms of the Islamic banking, it continues to have the highest market share in terms of assets in Oman and has shown healthy growth since its inception. The bank, as you can see in the graph on the right side, top right side, has a well-diversified loan portfolio. The deposit portfolio is also very strong and well-diversified, driven by retail deposits and supported by government and private sector deposits. كما تعلمون البنك يقدم العديد من الخدمات المصرفية، بما في ذلك الخدمات المصرفية للشركات، الخدمات المصرفية الشخصية، والخدمات المصرفية الإسلامية. الأعمال المصرفية في البنك حققت أداء جيد وأرباح جيدة خلال السنوات الماضية بشكل عام. تساهم الخدمات المصرفية للشركات والخدمات المصرفية الشخصية والخدمات المصرفية التجارية بحوالي 25 إلى 35% لكل منها، والخدمات من صافي الأرباح، والخدمات المصرفية الإسلامية بحوالي 6% من إجمالي أرباح البنك. فروع البنك في خارج السلطنة واجهت بعض التحديات في الائتمان في تلك الأسواق في السنوات الماضية، لكن خلال النصف الأول من عام 2022 ساهمت عمليات البنك الخارجية بنسبة إيجابية 1.5% في صافي أرباح البنك. الصيرفة الإسلامية المقدمة من ميثاق استمرت في الحصول على حصة في السوق من حيث الأصول، وأظهرت نمواً جيداً خلال هذه الفترة. البنك طبعاً يمتلك محفظة قروض متنوعة بشكل جيد، والتي تظهر في الرسم البياني في أعلى الجانب الأيمن، كما أن محفظة الودائع كذلك متنوعة ومدعومة بإيداعات الأفراد وودائع الحكومة وودائع القطاع الخاص. This slide talks about the bank's financial performance for the first half of 2022. As you can see, the bank's top line performance was strong in spite of the continuing global and regional challenges. Net profit was higher by about 4.9% over last year due to business conditions going back to normal, along with the forward-looking provisions that were made in the first half of 2021. The non-funded income improved in the quarter 2 2022. This is due to mainly gains on sale of certain investments by the bank. Bank's loan portfolio showed a reduction of about 2.6%, which was mainly attributable to large repayments that were made in the first half of 2022. Deposit portfolio showed a growth of about 2%. هذه الشريحة تتحدث عن الأداء المالي للبنك في النصف الأول من عام 2022. كما ترون كان أداء البنك قوياً على الرغم من الظروف الاقتصادية والسوقية الصعبة بسبب الوباء. صافي الربح ارتفع بنسبة تقريباً 5% بمقارنة بالعام الماضي، وذلك بسبب عودة ظروف العمل طبعاً إلى طبيعتها تدريجياً، وانخفاض كذلك في المخصصات الاحترازية التي وضعها البنك في عام 2021، وكذلك تحسن الدخل من الإيرادات الأخرى في الربع الثاني من 2022. محفظة قروض البنك انخفضت بنسبة 2.6%. هذا يعود بشكل رئيسي إلى استرداد بعض القروض والمدفوعات الكبيرة من استرداد القروض خلال النصف الأول من عام 2022. محفظة الودائع استمرت في النمو بنسبة 2%. This slide provides a quick snapshot of the operating performance of the bank over the last few years. As you can see, the bank's NIMs have been very stable over the last 5 years. The bank has been able to increase the yields to offset increases in funding costs to maintain the NIMs at decent levels. The bank's fee-based income was stable, around 31 to 35% of the total income throughout this period. At the same time, our cost-to-income ratio has been consistently declining in the last 4 years, between 2018 and 2021. The bank has successfully deployed a number of cost reforms and cost controls, reduction measures, to balance it with the volatility in the income base, especially during the pandemic years. Due to the opening up of the economy, we now, of course, see a marginal increase in our cost-to-income ratio, which reached 41 to 5% during the first half of 22. Nevertheless, this is still a relatively healthy level. The ROE of the bank has come down to the 10% level, mainly due to the much higher level of capital position. Current year ROE has improved due to the retention and higher profits. هذه الشريحة توفر لمحة سريعة عن الأداء التشغيلي للبنك خلال السنوات الماضية. كان صافي هامش الفائدة للبنك مستقراً على مدى السنوات الماضية. استطاع البنك طبعاً على زيادة العائد لتعويض، لأن كانت هناك زيادة في تكلفة التمويل، للحفاظ على صافي هامش الفائدة. استقر الدخل القائم على الرسوم للبنك عند حوالي 31% إلى 35% من إجمالي الدخل خلال هذه الفترة. في الوقت نفسه كانت نسبة التكلفة إلى الدخل الخاصة بالبنك تنخفض باستمرار في السنوات الأربع الماضية من 18 إلى 21. نجح البنك في تطبيق عدد من إجراءات التحكم والخفض في التكلفة خاصة في فترة الجائحة، لكن نظرا لتعافي الاقتصاد نرى الآن زيادة هامشية في نسبة التكلفة، وهذا شيء طبيعي بعد رجوع الأعمال لما هي عليه واستكمال الاستثمار في بعض المشاريع التي أوقفناها في خلال فترة الجائحة، لتصل إلى 41.5% خلال النصف الأول من عام 2022. وهذا يعني هذه نسبة جيدة مقارنة بأقراننا في السلطنة. انخفض العائد على حقوق الملكية للبنك إلى مستوى 10%. هذا يرجع أساساً إلى ارتفاع رأس المال بسبب طبعاً ارتفاع الأرباح، لكن تحسن العائد على حقوق الملكية للعام الحالي كذلك بسبب نمو الأرباح. This slide provides a trend on asset quality over the last 5 years. As you can see, the bank has been able to maintain the non-performing loans ratio around 3%, except in the recent past, which has seen a slight increase. At the same time, the coverage ratio continues to be at a much higher level of over 125% for the last 4 years and 156% as of June 2022. As I had mentioned earlier, the bank's loan portfolio is quite well diversified, managed with prudent credit policies. However, the market situation does continue to operate at somewhat of a distressed level. Nevertheless, the bank will continue its prudent provisions and credit policy to ensure that it always has a stable performance over the future. هذه الشريحة تعطيكم نبذة حول جودة الأصول على مدار السنوات الخمس الماضية. كما ترون فإن البنك حافظ على نسبة القروض المتعثرة بحوالي 3% باستثناء الفترة الأخيرة. في الوقت نفسه لا تزال نسبة التغطية أعلى من 125% خلال السنوات الأربع الماضية، مرتفعة إلى 156% اعتبارا من يونيو 2022. هذه نسبة قوية جدا طبعا مقارنة بالكثير من المؤسسات سواء إقليميا خليجيا أو في السلطنة. كما ذكرنا سابقا، محفظة قروض البنك متنوعة بشكل جيد، تتم إدارتها مع سياسات ائتمانية مدروسة. السوق طبعا ما زال يعمل تحت ضغط، لكن مع ذلك سيواصل البنك سياسة المخصصات والائتمان الحذرة لضمان أدائه المستمر المستقر. In this slide, we talk about the funding and the liquidity situation of the bank. The bank has a well-balanced funding mix of about 70% coming from customer deposits and the balance through interbank borrowings and equity. This has been a stable position. In fact, as you can see, for the last few years, the bank does continue to hold high level of liquid assets throughout these past few years. These assets are in the form of high quality liquid assets. As I mentioned earlier, the bank's capital position is one of the highest amongst its Omani peers and one of the strongest also amongst the GCC peers as well. The capital position is largely driven by core equity capital along with retained profits after paying decent dividends over the last several years. يتمتع البنك والحمد لله بمزيج تمويل متوازن يأتي تقريبا 70% من التمويل من ودائع العملاء والمتبقي من خلال الاقتراض من البنوك وكذلك حقوق ملكية المساهمين. هذا الوضع مستقر كما ترون خلال السنوات الماضية. البنك مستمر في الاحتفاظ بمستوى عالي من الأصول السائلة في السنوات الخمس الماضية، وهذا هو يعني تعتبر هذه الأصول أصول سائلة عالية الجودة. كما ذكرنا سابقا يعتبر مركز رأس مال البنك من أعلى المراكز بين أقرانه العمانيين وأحد الأقوى بين أقرانه في دول مجلس التعاون الخليجي. تحدثت I had talked about the bank and its performance. Of course, I will talk now about the bank's capital structure optimization that has been announced yesterday. It is being optimized through a proposed dividend, which is outlined as follows. There is bonus shares, one ordinary share of 100 Bayza for each ordinary share, aggregating to about 3.7 billion shares, equivalent to about 375 million Omani riyals. And also bonus bonds that are perpetual bonds, 1 riyal for every 10 ordinary shares, aggregating to 375 million bonds, equivalent to about 375 million Omani riyals. These proposed perpetual bonds are to be proposed to be listed on the Muscat stock exchange with a coupon of about 4.25% per annum. It's part of the bank's Tier 1 capital with no fixed maturity date and may be callable at par at the option of the bank after 5 years from the date of issuance. طبعا هنا سأتحدث عن إفصاح البنك بالأمس عن تحسين أو تعزيز هيكل رأس المال من خلال توزيع أسهم مجانية وكذلك سندات دائمة تحمل فائدة تبلغ 4.25% في العام. ستكون هذه السندات جزء من رأس المال من الفئة 1 وكذلك لن يكون للسندات تاريخ استحقاق محدد كما هو السائد في مثل هذه السندات. سوف يكون للبنك كذلك خيار الاسترداد بعد 5 سنوات من تاريخ الإصدار. The objectives from this are, of course, we've had within the bank's strategic goals and objectives, and given its strong financial performance over the past years, the board of directors have approved this proposal to optimize its capital structure by proposing this one-off dividend. The core equity capital of the bank has grown substantially over the past years with strong financial performance and retention of profits, which also increase the overall capital adequacy of the bank. The proposed dividend is designed to improve the efficiency of the bank's capital and in turn, of course, hopefully improve returns to its shareholders. This proposal has been structured to ensure that it does not have any effect on the bank's liquidity, profitability, or total capital ratios. And it also ensures, and this is important, that the bank will continue to be well capitalized to support its growth aspirations. The proposed dividend will also help the bank in achieving an optimal capital structure while meeting the requirements of all stakeholders. هذه الخطوة وهذا الاقتراح يأتي تماشيا مع الأهداف الاستراتيجية للبنك، طبعا بالنظر إلى سجله المتواصل في تحقيق نتائج مالية قوية خلال السنوات الماضية والحمد لله. مقترح توزيع الأرباح هذا هدفه التركيز على كفاءة رأس المال، وكذلك إن شاء الله نأمل أن تحسين العائد على استثمار مساهمي البنك بدون التأثير على وضع رأس مال البنك أو السيولة أو الربحية في البنك أو تطلعاتنا بالنسبة للنمو في المستقبل. This definitely is subject to the approval of the shareholders of the bank at a meeting of the shareholders of the bank, and also the Central Bank of Oman and the Capital Market Authority. Once all of this is accomplished, the market will be notified of the record date of the event after obtaining all the necessary approval. مقترح توزيع الأرباح هذا طبعا سيكون خاضعا لموافقة كل من مساهمي البنك والبنك المركزي العماني والهيئة العامة لسوق المال، ومع حصولنا على كل هذه الموافقات سيتم إطلاع السوق بتاريخ استحقاق المساهمين لتوزيع الأرباح المقترحة مثل ما ذكرت بعد حصولنا على الموافقات اللازمة. هنا وصلت إلى نهاية عرضي لأعمال البنك، شاكرا لكم حسن استماعكم جميعا، وسنفتح الباب بعد سماح الأخ رائد لنا للأسئلة، وإن شاء الله نأمل أن نجاوب عليها. This brings me to the end of my presentation. I thank you all for taking the time to listen to us. With the permission of Mr. Raid, we can open the floor for questions, and we will take them as we progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh Walid, for your clear and comprehensive presentation. And now I would like to ask anyone, if anybody has a question, please unmute yourself, start to introduce yourself and ask the question. So you are free to ask. طبعا الأسئلة ممكن تكون باللغة الإنجليزية والعربية، الكل مرحب به. Bishan? Yes.
Hi. Good afternoon, Sheikh Ali. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. My first question is with regards to the restructured loan build-up. You know, we're aware that the CBO had given a deferment scheme which expired on 31st December 2021, and we've just noticed a spike across the sector for the restructured loans. If you could just give us your comments on the same.
Thank you. The restructured loans would entail retail, personal loans, as well as corporate loans, and this, of course, both in the conventional and Islamic space. For retail loans, they were the deadline was 31st December, but for corporate loans, it was extended to 30 September 2022. The bank, of course, if you look at our financials, one of the more prudent ones in terms of the level of the restructured loans, and I can ask Ganesh to just shed some light in terms of the numbers. We've also been working very closely, both in all our business segments, to restructure loans, to work with them in terms of aligning cash flows with repayments, both for the retail segment as well as the corporate segments, and we have accomplished quite a large percent. For the retail, we have definitely accomplished a significant portion of that. For the corporate, it's also quite large, reaching in the 70 to 80%, where we have restructured and moved on in terms of aligning their cash flows with future payments, and we are working with some of them as we progress now to conclude them hopefully before the end of September. Any piece you want to add, Ganesh?
Sure, thank you. Bashan, if you recollect, 2020 and 2021, there was a deferral scheme program by the Central Bank of Oman. And then post that period, the Central Bank allowed banks to restructure those impacted borrowers' facility without any downgrade of asset quality status. So as a result, banks have been doing that, as Mr. Sheikh Walid talked about. Substantial portion of restructuring has been done. There are residual ones which will be done by September. In our case, if you recollect, we had about close to 1% of the book as a deferred book. Most of them, in terms of retail, getting regularized. There could be some small portion getting into restructure. But in terms of corporate, there could be a portion of 500 to 600 million riyal of restructured book, which are being disclosed as part of the financials. You would have seen an increase in the restructured book over a period of time from, let's say, last year June to this year June. And these are, though being shown as restructured, these continue to be in the same classification status. There is no downgrade. And we would see that number going up further by December based on the restructuring being done in Q3 and Q3 particularly. That is a piece I would like to add. Thank you.
Noted. Thanks for that answer, Mr. Ganesh. The next question with regards to provisions on the cost of risk in the second quarter. I understand that there was a one-off income from your sale in Octal that came through the P&L. We've noticed the last 3 quarters cost of risk has been around the 50-55 bips mark, and this quarter is around the 70-75 bips mark. So could you just comment on that, and how should we perceive cost of risk going forward? Thank you.
Your observation is correct. Q2 we had an increase in cost of that is a net cost of risk. That's largely driven by write back. The cost of risk has 2 components: the provisions we make, the ECL, and the write backs we get from the provisions made earlier. There was a decline in the write back in Q2. As a result, the cost of risk, net cost of risk was elevated. But overall, for the 6-month period, it is around 60 basis points, similar to last year.
Noted. Thanks for that. And next question, I can come back in line if there are others waiting. But the next question was with regards to this capital optimization structure. I mean, it's great for shareholders. But if my understanding is correct, effectively it's shifting one line item of common equity tier 1 into additional tier 1. So the total equity base remains the same, but now you have more flexibility with regards to dividend payment, which was earlier capped by the CBO rule of 1/3 of share capital, which gives the bank more flexibility to sort of pay out a higher amount if it wishes, and also optimizes your ROE going forward, thereby re-rating its justified price to book, or at least a valuation metric. Is that one of the thoughts that went into taking this decision?
You've really put everything together, but I will just say this as a responsible executive of the bank. It's really, it wouldn't be fair nor prudent for me to comment on future dividend outlook. And you will know very much so, and colleagues around the table as well as listeners, that these are subjected to a number of different factors: profitability of the bank, market conditions, regulatory ratios, and a board decision ultimately. So it's not possible for me to give a comment on that. It wouldn't just be prudent really on that front. I hope you accept this from me.
Yes, sir, I understand. Thank you so much. I'll come back later if there are any further questions. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, Sheikh Walid and gentlemen management for arranging this conference call. My first quick follow-up on what...
Can you state your name, please? I'm sorry, I didn't catch.
This is Joyce Matthew from United Securities.
Pleasure. Thank you, Joyce.
Yeah. So my first question is a follow-up question to what Bishan was asking about the asset quality. And Ganesh, what I see is there is a sudden spike in the stage 2 loans during this quarter. It has increased by almost 15% to more than 2 billion riyals, if I'm correct. What was the reasons that led to that? Because in the first quarter, I saw the stage 2 loans coming down a little bit, but then in second quarter, it suddenly spiked up. So, what's really happening and what's the trend going forward? How do you see this?
Sure, thank you, Joyce. If you recollect in 2020 and part of 2021, based on the central bank regulations, obviously with the rapid impact of COVID, the staging was on hold. The borrower's financial statements of 2020 was severely impacted across the globe. As a result, the staging process was put on hold till these borrowers' financial conditions start improving and stabilizing. So that impact got over last year somewhere in mid. Now we are looking at 2022 financials of 2021 of borrowers. As a result, as and when the borrowers' financial statements go into the rating model would have a stage 1, stage 2 movement. That's what we are seeing. This was expected at the time of the COVID impact coming in, but there was a time lag impact. So you would see stage 2 increase across different sectors in all banks based on the financial performance of the borrowers' conditions in 2021 and 22. But going forward, we don't expect that to continue because year-on-year comparison, when we see 2022 financials of borrowers, if their performance is similar or marginally better, there won't be much of a stage 2 rating downgrade impact coming in. So that's primarily a reason. If you look at all banks, the stage 2 portfolio was stagnant for the period of 2 years. Now we are seeing that impact coming. Okay, thank you. So does that mean there will not be much of the provisions that are taken from stage 2 will come down a little bit going forward compared to first half?
I think it's it will all be subject to market conditions and the performance of these borrowers, especially in 2022 and beyond. But our we're conservative in nature. We have taken conservative measures in 2020 as well as partly in 2021 to take collective provisions. We, at this stage of our conversation, we're hopeful that things are behind us. Hopefully things will be better than 2020 and 2021. But it's all subject to future market conditions.
Understood, Sheikh. Sheikh, another question that I have is the sector has been, you just in your presentation, you said the sector has witnessed a loan book growth in the past. And but by Muscat, we are seeing that the loan book has declined a little bit during the first half of this year. How do you explain the scenario? Was it purposefully done? And what are your thoughts on the sector outlook for the next 2 years? And where do you see position by Muscat in terms of loan book expansion?
Thank you. Yes, this was through known and calculated prepayments of certain large outstanding. The situation that due to the oil prices improving significantly, liquidity has improved, especially for certain borrowers who mainly on the government and quasi-government. And obviously, with that kind of situation, we have seen this. The government has repaid internationally parts of its debt. Similarly, this has also taken shape with us in Bank Muscat. This is a scenario that is the competitive scenario in the country is also quite increasing. The growth in economy is relatively slow, but although promising for the future. If we're expecting single-digit growth low single-digit growth for the whole sector. We will try to be at that. We're trying to be at that, but we have to always also be prudent in terms of our policy on quality of assets and risk and so on. So, it has been a bit challenging in the first half, partly intentional due to our focus and concentration on loan risks. And also we hope that there will be some pickup in the second half, hopefully. And we will see how it goes, whether it reaches to the previous, our loan book reaches to previous levels or otherwise. Nevertheless, notwithstanding that, our focus is also on the top line in terms of managing our cost of funds to improve NIMs, also managing and trying to improve our fee-based income. So it's a multiple of different factors. Key theme is we want to always focus on asset quality as a key parameter, the fundamental parameter for us moving forward. While growth is important, asset quality is also very important.
Got it. And last year, the price scheme, the raffle scheme, has been cancelled by the CBO. So, what is your experience with the depositors during the first half of this year, and what's the impact of this decision on your cost of funds and the margins? Because I see your cost of funds is inched up a little bit and close to 2% mark in this year. So how much is the impact on your cost of funds? And
this thing is still a moving piece. We have only seen 6 months of it now. We have, as a bank, taken steps to diversify our product offering in this area to make sure that we retain a very important segment of our liabilities, which is the retail deposits, mainly savings account. You see, savings account are a function of a number of different things. They are a function of your branch network, your reach, as well as the pricing of these accounts and the rates that you offer. So there are and the bundling of the products that we offer. So we have gone a long way in terms of that, and that's part of our strategy to replace the price saving scheme moving forward, in terms of actually focusing on bundling of different products, also offering interest-bearing savings accounts. In terms of the impact of the cost of them, it's really still a moving piece, because it's only 6 months since this has happened. A number of banks are employing a number of different strategies in this particular area. So far, I can say that we don't see an increase over and above at this stage, over and above what the banks have been paying in terms of cost of the scheme itself. Is that a fair statement to say, Ganesh? But nevertheless, it remains to be seen what competitive actions are going to be there to attract the savings deposits. We believe Bank Muscat is well positioned through a large branch network, through a large channel network, to take advantage of acquiring new and getting new customers on board. So I think it's a process, as we discover as we progress. We're set with our plans and strategies to augment the loss of the prize saving schemes, and so far it's been stable.
Thank you, Sheikh. I have a few more questions, but I'll...
Joyce, let's have someone else to ask.
Yeah, I'll go back in line and wait.
Okay, fine. Okay. Yes, Abbas, please.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Abbas.
You are unmute yourself.
Yes, good afternoon. Could you hear me, sir? Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you very much for the call. Congratulations on the fantastic capital optimization move. I think it's extremely ROE accretive in the short term, and as a shareholder, we're very, very happy. So thank you for that. I had a couple of questions. The first one is on a spate of consolidation news that you've been hearing in the sector. a couple of them have been successful in the past. A couple of them did not work out. And recently there was a news of Sahar International Bank merging with potentially merging with HSBC, and they're also in talks with Nizwa. How does Bank Muscat, as a market leader, view this consolidation in the sector? And when do you decide as senior management along with the board that let me optimize my capital structure versus going ahead and probably making a play to buy out another smaller player and further enhance your competitive position in the market? How do you make that decision?
No, I think it's not mutually exclusive, if that's the right terminology. First, let me go back to the capital position. The capital position is still quite healthy to support our growth aspirations for the future. So that's one piece, I think, and that's my comment on. As far as the merger possibilities that are being announced in the market, we have talked about this for a long time now. I think it's quite clear that the market is probably conducive to these types of transactions, and it's probably good for the market from a competitive standpoint, from a customer proposition standpoint. For us, it doesn't mean that we have done this capital optimization that we are not considering or looking at. This is a question of consolidation, is definitely a shareholder consideration, and if the right opportunity becomes available and becomes what's the word, is something that's for the benefit of the shareholders of Bank Muscat, we will definitely consider it and take a look at it. But the capital optimization in and of itself is not something that bars the bank from considering these types of opportunities. Just where is that right opportunity?
Sure. Yes, point well taken, sir. And my second question is, when you look at strategically, when you look at a bank like Bank Muscat, in terms of, you said you will try and sort of grow along with the nominal sort of GDP growth of the country, right? You're talking about single digit growth. What other sort of strategic initiatives are you looking at more geographical expansion, or you're happy to be in this market? For example, are you looking at sort of listing Mithaq as a separate player in the market? Because you guys have been in the forefront of shareholder wealth generation. It's been probably one of the best performing stocks, and of course, reflecting the fundamentals of the bank. What other strategic initiatives can you look at to further enhance shareholder value as a senior management?
Well, we're taking it at strides, So I think this is part of our strategic plan. Optimizing our capital structure is a part and parcel of our strategic plan in terms of, even when we call it strategic growth. Secondly, possibilities are always there. It's just really finding the right opportunities. If we're talking geographically outside Oman, regionally or otherwise, even in terms of, and I'm just talking out loud here, not necessarily firm plans, but I'm talking about the different possibilities that are there. Even in terms of certain market segments, like Islamic banking, like any, the product offerings that are there are also, there is major possibilities for them to grow and bring in more business and more different business segments. In terms of the digitization piece, what are the different opportunities there? In terms of also our investment side, in terms of our investment banking side, our investment book, and so on. So, the size, thank God, the size of Bank Muscat gives it a number of opportunities. Now, when it comes to organic growth, there will always be challenges, because let's be frank, the market is the market. Nobody can grow beyond the economy. But it's always the challenge for us to find blue oceans, and that's what we keep working on. So what we have done yesterday, announced yesterday, and hopefully it gets approved, moving by the regulators and the shareholders, is one of the steps of our strategy, and we will see what we come back with and what we come up with to ensure that shareholder value is not only protected, but also enhanced.
Thank you. And no comments on listing Mithaq possibly this year or probably next year?
What's that? Listing Mithaq?
The Islamic Bank probably spin it off and list it as a subsidiary on the exchange.
Is
that a possibility?
We have to consider, when we talk about this, we do have to consider a number of different factors that are at play here. There are obviously, in terms of Mithaq is the market leader in terms of market share, and we need to make sure that leadership continues. Actually, you know, in terms of its profitability as well, in terms of the structure of its balance sheet, all of the Islamic windows, it's a market that's developing. When the right time comes for it to be spun off, and it actually, the spinning off of Mithaq does create added shareholder value, it has to make sense to the shareholders. Then of course we will not stand in, we will be the first one to move it forward and recommend it. But I think the key theme here is value to the shareholder, as well as value to the Mithaq product offering and Mithaq customers.
Thank you, sir. Very, very clear. Thank you, Sheikh Waleed.
Thank you.
All the best to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Abbas. ظهر ما في أسئلة ثانية عند yes Joyce again. You are lucky.
Thank you. My next question is on your outlook on the interest rate scenario. We are seeing the dollar rates are likely to go up, but probably we might be a little immune to Omani Riyal rates, might be a little immune to what's happening outside in the dollar world. But what's your outlook on the loan yields as well as on the cost of funds? How do you see that moving forward for the next 1 to 2 years?
Oh, 2 years is going to be very long. I think 6 months for me is a challenge. I'm sure you would understand that and you would forgive me. No, the market is quite dynamic. I think what's important to remember are the fundamentals of the balance sheet of the bank. It's really very clear for us that we have to match currencies. So if we are lending in dollars, and that's a factor that we need to consider, because the cost of borrowings for these customers is increasing. We have to also borrow in dollars. Now, also those customers, we have to monitor and we make sure that their income is also hedged, i.e. in dollars, so that they are able to repay in dollars. So it's all part and parcel of the policy. Similarly now, of course, what's helping us is the liquidity in Omani Riyals. It has not dropped yet. The cost of funds of Omani Riyals still needs to moderate further moving forward. But it still offers an opportunity for some of the Omani borrowers who are looking at USD borrowing to actually look at Omani Riyal borrowing. So that's as to predictions of where the rates will go. It's very difficult for me to say, but I know that the fundamentals of the bank is we have to match both sides of our balance sheet in terms of liabilities and assets, in terms of our cost of funding vis-a-vis dollar borrowings for us. So that's a key focus, even in terms of our liquidity and our deployment and so on. So is that a fair answer, Ganesh? Yeah, thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's so sweet to buy Muscat, but as the CEO of a leading bank, what's your take on the sector as a whole for the entire sector?
My take on the entire sector liquidity?
Yeah, the liquidity.
I think overall in Omani Riyals, liquidity is quite comfortable in the sector, and we can see it in terms of the dropping of deposit rates. Also, the main factor of this is really the higher oil revenues. Of course, moving forward, and of course the unfortunately subdued economic conditions. Now moving forward, once things pick up and credit growth moves up, then this liquidity is there and it's available and it's ready. I think what's important is really focusing on the credit risk and making sure that the credit is robust moving forward. I think it's safe to say, generally speaking, most banks are relatively as we stand comfortable in liquidity. Moving forward, I think it will continue for the short term, especially given the increased revenue, barring any unforeseen steps moving forward in terms of whether it's international vis-a-vis funds. Fed rates going even further and higher up, or today dynamics of global economy and geopolitics and so on are so fast and so unpredictable. It's very difficult to really form a view for the future. But as I said, we focus on what we have today. It looks fine.
Okay. Let's take.
Thank you very much.
Amin. Yeah, thank you, Joyce. Let's take Amin. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi. Hello, Mr. Waleed and Mr. Ganesh and the team. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I just have a basic quick question on cost to income. So given the digital initiatives that we are repetitively talking about, how do I think about cost to income trends? Let's say if 2 years, as you said, if it's that too difficult to forecast in the future, let's say over the next 6 months or next 1 year, particularly when the other expense line item is still, much lower than the pre-pandemic levels. So how do you see the cost base evolving from here and the cost to income trending with that? That is what my question is.
That's a very important question. Thank you. First, you had talked digital, and you have brought with it the cost to income ratio. So first, I will focus on digital. Digital for us actually is not necessarily a cost saving initiative. It's actually a drive for a customer acquisition and a customer service proposition. And in fact, volumes of business and volumes of transactions have increased substantially to where digital becomes a fact of life now. And in fact, digital demands even more investments in technology in order for it to be resilient, robust, and continually advancing in terms of its offering and in terms of its reach. But having said that, it's very digital for us is both an efficiency as well as a top line enhancing proposition. We come to the cost to income ratio. We have to be cognizant of the fact that over the last 2 years, we have been very conservative in terms of our cost structure. And there were certain initiatives that we need to be focusing on for the coming period. For example, our branch network, our digital offering, our technology investments, and this is a main factor in it. Now, those are something, our customer base is increasing and continues to increase. Our transaction volumes are increasing. So that's great. That's good for the bank. And we need to start reinvesting again in some of our infrastructure. That doesn't mean that it's going to raise the cost base. When I have talked about the levels that we are at now at 42%, these are actually quite healthy levels to be at, especially when we talk in comparison to the rest of the rest of the peers. We will try our best, but if opportunities do present themselves to us, and where we see revenue enhancement opportunities by further investments, we will not shy away from that. But obviously, that's the trade-off. We need to make sure that whatever we invest in does provide us revenue enhancement in the medium term. So it's a balanced approach that we take vis-a-vis costs, but we do need to reinvest in our technology, in our infrastructure, in our people, and so on as we proceed.
Let's take Jasim now. Jasim.
ايوه السلام عليكم.
السلام.
ابو نواف.
مساك الله خير شيخ وليد.
حياك اخوي جاسم، الله يسلمك.
الله يسلم غاليك. الحقيقه انا اول يمكن ثاني مره احضر حلقات نقاشيه يقيمها السوق، وهذا شيء طيب. والحقيقه انا بس يمكن لما حضرت في المناقشه الاوليه الاخ رايد ما كان موجود، حد من الاخوان كان موجود. طبعا قبل كل شيء اخي شيخ وليد، يعني الشيء البنك مسقط، انا ما بتكلم عن بنك مسقط بشكل يعني مثل ما يقولوا، لكن الحقائق الارقام وشرحك للارقام وهي واضحه للجميع، اي واحد يعرف يقرا الارقام. البنك ما في غير قروض، واللي هي العوائد القروض، واللي هي نخلينا نقول نشوف الاذر انكم نحن نسميه الرسوم والموسم، والارقام واضحه للجميع. انا بس شاركت لان ما شفت حد من الشباب العمانيين، عندنا ما شاء الله 60 شخص، فحبيت اشارك حد من الناس اللي هم يمكن، واتمنى اشوف شباب، واتمنى من سوق مسقط والهيئه سوق المال وجهاز الاستثمار والبنك المركزي ان مثلا الشباب اللي موجودين في الجامعه في اخر سنه في كليات اقتصاد وتجاره، مثل هذه المناقشات يعني يحضروا ويستفيدوا من الناس اللي عندهم خبره. وانت ما قصرت الحقيقه، انا اول مره اسمعك يعني تشرح عن البنك بالارقام وكل شيء يعني انا ما بتكلم شيء اكثر من كذاك، لكن الامور واضحه. الشيء اللي عملتوه للاداره الاخوان مجلس الاداره والاداره التنفيذيه، انكم وزعتوا هذا القرار اللي عملتوه، وعمل يعني شويه في سوق مسقط نوعا ما. يعني نبغى نشوف هذه الحركه اللي هي تصير، او الشركات الكبيره مثل عمان تل مثل بنك مسقط هي الشركات القائده في السوق، الادوار هذه اللي تقوم بها شيء جيد. اتمنى بس القائمين على هذه يعني الموسم يعني الشركات الكبيره او سواء اللي ذكرتهم يعني يكون لهم دور ايجابي اكثر. نحن كشباب يعني واحد عنده خبره يكون له دور في المجتمع، نحفز الناس، لان سوق مسقط تحسه يعني سوق هادي، يعني مع العلم الاداء والعوائد ماله جيده كثير، خصوصا لما نشوف العوائد الثانيه في مثلا القطاع العقاري او حتى القطاع الصناعي بشكل عام. يعني القطاع الصناعي يمكن مضغوط نوعا ما، القطاع العقاري يمكن اوفرلودد. فاتمنى ان شاء الله يعني التركيز الاخوه في سوق مسقط، والاخ هيثم السالمي والنعم فيه من الشباب الاكفاء والاخوان في الهيئه وكل مكان، يكون لهم دور في يعني اعلامي نوعا ما بطريقه افضل. فاتمنى يكون الحضور مره ثانيه في مناقشات يعني، وهذا اكيد بتكون موجوده يعني في الموقع مع سوق مسقط. اتمنى يعني التواصل ما بين السوق والاخوان في الجامعات، انهم الشباب يروحوا يشوفوا هذه اللقاءات على اساس يتعلموا ويستفيدوا من هذه المعلومات، ليكون لهم دور مجتمعي. وانتم اللي سويتوه اخي الشيخ وليد والاخوان الموجودين معك الشباب، اعتبره انا كمستثمر بسيط يعني شيء جيد. اتمنى لكم التوفيق، اتمنى نشوف اندماجات كثيره. يعني بنككم الحمد لله واصل، انا اتمنى حتى بنك مسقط يدمج البنوك الصغيره، لكن ابغى اشوف بنوك ثانيه قريبه من بنك مسقط، يعني يكون في تنافس يعني. واتمنى لك التوفيق شيخ وليد انت والاخوه كلكم ان شاء الله.
الله يخليك. مشكور اخوي ابو نواف، تسلم. دائما ملاحظاتك قيمه ومفيده ونستفيد منها جميعا، سواء احنا في بنك مسقط او متاكد كذلك اخواننا في بورصه مسقط ومجلس الاداره، دائم سباق بملاحظاتك القيمه الطيبه. شاكر لك تواصلك معنا وشاكر لك اقتراحاتك الطيبه فعلا. يعني يا ليت والله فعلا هذه يعني الطلاب الجامعيين يعني شيء، انا انسان بسيط في القائي وفي هذا، لكن متاكد ان المنظومه كامله، لقاءات بورصه مسقط كامله بتكون بفائده مهمه جدا لهم جميعا. وان شاء الله نتامل ان نكون عند حسن الظن وناتي بمثل هذه، سواء بنك مسقط او البنوك الاخرى او المؤسسات الكبيره الاخرى، أن يأتوا بمثل هذه المبادرات بالنسبة تعزيز أو تحسين رؤوس المال أو أي مبادرات أخرى. إن شاء الله نتأمل جميعا، وإحنا كذلك بنعمل إن شاء الله أبو نواف، بنعمل إن شاء الله جاهدين لنأتي بما هو في صالح المساهم والمجتمع وكل المعنيين بأمور البنك إن شاء الله وبإذنه. شكرا جزيلا لك.
شكرا.
شكرا يا أبو نواف على ملاحظاتك القيمة، وإن شاء الله راح تأخذ بالاعتبار، وأكيد الحلقات هذه وغيرها راح تكون متاحة للجميع، وراح نخصص الشباب بفعاليات وبرامج أكثر بكثير عن هذه اللي موجودة. شكرا جزيلا على ملاحظتك. I think we will take the last question now. I have here Mr. G. Ganesh. He raised his hand. Please, so this will be the last question. Is it okay, Sheikh Wali?
تفضل، احنا حاضرين.
Okay, so
hello.
Yeah, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I just have a question that Bank Muscat is giving hefty dividends every year, like around 25%. So
your voice gets distorted. Maybe you
clear.
come to the microphone.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you, yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, I just had a question that every year bank is paying around 25% dividend approximately. So this time when this dividend, this perpetual bond and the bonus is issued, what will be the approximate, would there be any difference or impact on the dividends which is paid at the end of the year?
Thank you. I've answered a similar question before. Frankly speaking, it wouldn't be prudent nor fair for me or fair to the bank to be talking about an outlook on what the dividend will be. These are really, they depend on the profitability of the bank, the market dynamics, conditions at the time, the recommendations from the board, the outlook vis-a-vis the bank and its growth, the regulations that are in place. So there are really a number of different factors that are there that impact this. So it wouldn't be fair nor prudent nor wise for me to predict or project or give a statement on this, because it's just probably it's really not right. I think what's important is you look at the history of the bank in terms of this particular aspects, and and you can do your own analysis on that. But projecting future dividend payout is, like I said, subject to number of different factors.
شكرا Sheikh Walid. قبل لا أنهي, before ending this session, anything you would like to say?
No, thank you very much, Lakh-Raed. I really appreciate your managing the session and taking us through it. I also appreciate the opportunity given to us from your side and from Muscat Borsa. I wish you all the best. I wish all the attendees and all the shareholders all the best, and I pray that we are always on the right track, inshallah, to deliver the best value to all our stakeholders, inshallah.
So thank you, Sheikh Walid, and thanks to your team, Sheikh Ahmed, Ganesh, and wish you all the best. And thank you for you all to attend this session, and have a nice weekend. Thank you, everybody.
مشكور، أحسنتم، في أمان الله.